We need an airport to land, sir. Immediately. We are out of fuel.
New Delhi, 15th July 2019. 2 hours earlier, Vistara Flight 944 is approaching Indira Gandhi International Airport. This plane is almost out of fuel. Below them, a monstrous storm is hammering the airport. With clouds all around them, it is impossible to spot the runway. Rain lashes the airport and standing water is making landing dangerous. A queue of planes are waiting to land, and ATC tells the pilots
Vistara 944, join the holding pattern.
the aircraft begins circling. Once, twice, 3 times. But the storm isn't moving. But they have waited so long that their alternate airport, Ahmedabad, is now out of range. They divert to Lucknow, hoping to land there, but Lucknow is about to turn into a trap. With every passing minute, they are using up more fuel and they have to land now. The lives of 161 people on board will now depend on what the pilots do in the next few minutes. Will the pilots be able to land this plane safely, or will this become India's next air disaster? Let's find out. This is the story of Vistara Flight 944.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
For this story to make sense, you need to understand the dangerous game that airlines play with every single flight. A game that started 3 hours earlier in Mumbai. Mumbai's Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International Airport. It's monsoon season over India, and thunderstorms have already swept through Mumbai earlier that day. It's still raining, the runway is damp, and the skies are heavy with monsoon clouds. At Gate 23, 155 passengers board Vistara Flight 944, bound for India's capital, New Delhi. Mumbai to Delhi is one of the busiest routes in the world. The 1,100-kilometer distance is usually covered in around 2 hours. It's a predictable route. It's well-traveled and straightforward. Well, at least on most days.
What a morning it's been since 5 o'clock this morning. It's been lightning, thundering and raining heavily in the national capital. That's resulted...
Delhi is in the grip of a thunderstorm as well. Heavy rain and low visibility conditions are already causing delays, with a queue of planes trying to land on a wet runway. Our plane for today is an Airbus A320. At just over a year old, she is one of the youngest of the fleet, delivered brand new in 2018. She is powered by 2 ultra-efficient CFM LEAP 1 Alpha engines. They are state-of-the-art, fuel-efficient, and whisper-quiet. At the controls is a 30-year-old captain with over 8,000 hours of A320 experience. Beside him sits a 28-year-old first officer with 1,600 total hours. They are of similar ages, but have vastly different experience. Today's flight is being operated by Vistara Airlines. Launched just 4 years ago as a partnership between Tata and Singapore Airlines, Vistara was expanding rapidly by 2019. They were ambitious and confident in their operational excellence. But behind this professionalism lies the relentless pressure of aviation economics. And that pressure is about to force these pilots into an impossible choice. The plane begins to refuel. Fuel makes up 30% of operating costs for airlines. And so, they are very careful how many kilos they carry. More fuel will cause the plane to get heavier, which will result in more fuel being burned, and thus reducing profits. So the amount of fuel to carry is calculated very carefully. And here's how the crew computed today's fuel load. They first took 500 kilos for taxiing to the runway, and then another 4,000 for the actual trip to Delhi. They then added 200 kilos as a contingency for minor detours along the route. And to this, they added a 30-minute legally required lifeline of about 1,150 kilos. This was topped off with 1,001 kilos of additional fuel, which is an internal Vistara requirement, but not legally required. Until now, everything is fine, no issues. But then came the villain for today's story, the alternate fuel. Alternate fuel is the fuel that is used to take you to an alternate airport to land at. In clear weather days, the crew must choose one alternate airport at least. But in bad weather days, like today, they must choose two alternate airports. In their transit briefing sheet, the two alternates chosen by the dispatcher are Ahmedabad and Lucknow. Legally, the crew needs to carry fuel to get them to their farthest alternate, which in this case is Ahmedabad. That means carrying an additional 3,800 kilos of fuel. But just before refueling started, the crew reviewed the weather forecast one more time. The forecast showed that the storm currently over Delhi was moving northeast and was likely to clear before their planned arrival time of around 4:30 pm. This meant that it was quite possible that they might be able to land in Delhi without any issues. And in the worst case, their closer alternate of Lucknow would also be in clear weather by that time. So they had to make a decision. Did they really want to carry all that extra fuel to go to Ahmedabad when in all likelihood they wouldn't need it? Or could they save some fuel, reduce weight, and take just enough to get them to Lucknow? The pilots make the choice that they were trained to do. They program Lucknow into their flight management system as their primary alternate and choose the much closer Jaipur airport as their secondary alternate. But the transit briefing sheet is their official document. And because it lists Ahmedabad as their alternate, they legally need to carry enough fuel to get them to Ahmedabad. But wait, wasn't the whole point of choosing Lucknow as their alternate to carry less fuel? So how do we get around this? Remember that extra 1001 kilos of additional fuel that is an internal Vistara requirement? What if we were to reclassify that 1001 kilos as both the internal additional fuel and also as the alternate fuel? This way, on paper, they'll be able to show that they have enough fuel to get them to Ahmedabad, although they never intend to go there. By doing this accounting trick, they save 1,900 kilos of fuel, while technically meeting regulatory requirements. Refueling is complete. The plane now carries 8,500 kilos on board. It's now time to depart. Engines ignite and fuel begins to burn away. Every second from now, their safety margin shrinks. Today, every kilo will matter. At 3:10 pm, Vistara 944 pushes back from gate 23, engines humming quietly as the plane rolls onto the taxiway. Every second that ticks by consumes precious fuel. By the time they line up at the runway threshold, they've already burned through 225 kilos. At 3:18 pm, air traffic control clears them for departure. The pilots ease the throttles forward, engines spool up, the aircraft accelerates down the damp runway, and moments later, it lifts off into the heavy grey skies. The fuel remaining is 8,274 kilos. They'll soon wish that they never departed, because ahead of them, Delhi is about to become impossible to reach. And while we're talking about avoiding chaos, here's something incredible that you cannot miss. I've spoken about Odoo on this channel before. I use it to run all aspects of my business, from planning the videos all the way to invoicing. Look, if you're watching this from India, Odoo is hosting India's biggest business and tech event with over 20,000 founders, creators, and professionals all coming together under one roof. And this event is absolutely free to attend. It's called Odoo Community Days 2025, and it's happening on August 13th and 14th at Mahatma Mandir at Gandhinagar in Gujarat. Odoo is releasing their latest version, Odoo 19, at the event. Moreover, you'll get 200 plus expert and influencer talks, 200 business booths, live product demos, and founder keynotes. And yes, there's even a concert and an after party, because why not? Whether you're running a startup or scaling an enterprise, this is where you'll learn to work smarter and not harder, and network with some of the most incredible people shaping India's business landscape. The link is in the description. Register now. Trust me, this is where you need to be. Thank you, Odoo, for sponsoring us, and now let's get back to the story. It's now 4:20 p.m. The plane is now 150 kilometers from Delhi. The crew requests updated weather for Delhi. Remember the weather forecast at Mumbai that promised that the skies will be clear in Delhi by the time they arrived? That same forecast that they bet their lives on and saved 1,900 kilos of fuel? That forecast was dead wrong. The updated weather report comes through. Thunderstorms have intensified directly above Indira Gandhi International Airport. There's heavy rain and the winds are gusting at 30 knots. The visibility is down to 500 meters and landing is next to impossible. Just as the weather report comes in, ATC's voice cuts through the static.
Vistara 944, join the holding pattern.
The captain turns the aircraft into a slow, shallow bank. Fuel continues to burn as they begin circling in the sky. The captain stares at the fuel gauges. They hadn't planned for a weather hold at Delhi as they thought that the weather would be fine by the time they got there. They currently have 5,200 kilos remaining. He does some quick math. With the fuel that they have left, they can hold for approximately 30 minutes, maybe less in these winds. But every minute of hold burns 55 kilos. Every circle will cost them 6 minutes of safety margin. The longer they hold, the worse their situation will become. But they have no other choice, so they continue circling. The fuel gauge ticks down relentlessly. They complete the first turn, 4,900 kilos. Second turn, 4,600 kilos. ATC keeps promising them that they'll be able to land in just 5 more minutes. But they've heard that many times by now. They complete the third turn, 4,300 kilos. They've been holding for 20 minutes. They can't hold for much longer. In the cockpit, tension builds. The first officer watches the fuel gauge and then glances at the captain. His training tells him that they should divert now, because the weather isn't improving. But the power gradient, the unspoken hierarchy that prevents junior pilots from challenging captain's decisions, keeps him silent. Fuel is now down to 4,200 kilos. Ahmedabad, their official on-paper alternate, is slipping out of range with every passing second. But with the weather not improving, the captain grows tense. They have now been holding for 30 minutes. He finally begins to consider a diversion.
If we can't land in Delhi, we'll go to Lucknow.
Remember, Lucknow is the airport that they chose as their primary alternate for fuel calculations, and Jaipur was their secondary. The problem is, both these airports are now under stormy conditions. Ahmedabad, their original alternate, which is in clear weather, is out of range because they didn't take enough fuel and they were holding for way too long. By 5 p.m, frustration and nervousness begins to creep into the cockpit.
I think we have to divert. I do not think we will be landing in the next at least 25 minutes.
But just at that time, Delhi ATC calls in with a hopeful update.
40 miles touchdown. Confirm acceptable?
The captain does a quick calculation.
40 miles is about 15 minutes to touchdown. It'll be very close. One go around and we will have very less fuel to divert. But I'm not landing at less than 3.5 tons over here.
To go to Lucknow and land safely, they need 3,500 kilos. So to be safe, once they hit 3,500 kilos, they should exit the holding pattern and go to Lucknow.
Vistara 944, descend to flight level 60.
ATC instructs them to exit the hold and to prepare for the Delhi approach. But just at that time, the fuel drops to 3,500 kilos. They should divert now. But Delhi is tantalizingly close, and the ATC is offering vectors for the approach. They'll be able to land in 15 minutes if they go to Delhi. The captain stares at the fuel gauge. 3,480 kilos. He needs to make a choice. Either attempt to land in Delhi or divert to Lucknow now.
We will just continue what he's making us do right now and let us see how it goes.
Approach phase activated.
He decides to go to Delhi. They are below minimum fuel for Lucknow already. Weather is still bad in Delhi. With no guarantee that they'll be able to land, they begin their approach towards the Delhi runway. The plane is now on final approach for runway 29 at Delhi's IGI.
We can expect strong tailwinds at touchdown also. At any time strong tailwinds, then we'll go around.
The runway appears through the rain, wet and contaminated. Winds shift unpredictably. They don't have enough fuel for a second attempt. 3,200.
Vistara 944 runway 29 clear to land. Wind 060 at 10 knots.
They are about to attempt a landing they probably can't make. With fuel, they can't afford to lose. They begin final descent. 3,100 kilos. They cannot afford a go around. And then, just seconds before touchdown, a gust of tailwind destabilizes the aircraft, and the captain instinctively aborts the landing.
Delhi Tower Vistara 944 going around runway 29.
It's 5:20 p.m. They don't have enough fuel to attempt a go around at Delhi. And with Delhi's weather continuing to remain bad, if they try to go around, if they aren't able to land in their second attempt as well, then they won't have enough fuel to go to Lucknow. So, they decide to divert to Lucknow immediately.
Delhi Tower Vistara 944, we are diverting to Lucknow now.
Roger. Climb to flight level 110.
Climb flight level 110 Vistara 944.
As the aircraft turns east, it carries 2,850 kilograms of fuel. They need at least 3,000 kilos to safely land at Lucknow, giving themselves a buffer for go-arounds. 2,850 gives them just one attempt to land. This is very risky, but they are now committed to Lucknow, 200 kilometers east through deteriorating weather.
Are you able to go direct to Aligarh?
ATC enquires whether they can fly direct to Aligarh, a waypoint en route to Lucknow. But there is bad weather on the route to Aligarh.
Negative. Unable due to weather. We can take heading 150.
They turn south to navigate around the storm, and their problems compound. That turn to the south puts them near Agra, which is a restricted military airspace. To stay clear of both weather and airspace violations, they are forced to take a wide 40 nautical mile detour. And this increased distance wasn't in their original fuel calculations. The fuel drops to 2,000 kilos. The ATC then comes up with a suggestion that could save them.
Vistara 944, any interest in Jaipur, sir? Jaipur is vacant.
Jaipur is closer. It can handle A320s, and it is in clear weather. And it was also their own listed second alternate. But the crew doesn't take it.
Negative, sir. Lucknow is our alternate. Vistara 944.
Lucknow is our alternate. Those 4 words contain a truth that will put 161 people in danger. Why would the crew refuse the closest safe airport? Why choose a longer, more dangerous route when a perfectly good runway sits just minutes away? The answer is money. You see, airlines have 2 different types of alternate airports. The first are suitable alternates, and the second are acceptable alternates. Suitable alternates are airports where the airline has ground staff, maintenance teams, and full support. For Vistara, these are their home airports like Mumbai, Delhi, and Lucknow. But then there are acceptable alternates. These are airports that can handle your aircraft type, but where you have no company support. There's no ground crew, there are no spare parts, no passenger facilities. Even though Vistara has no staff at these airports, they still list them as backup options on their flight plans. Why? Because these airports are sometimes closer than the ones where Vistara actually operates from. And closer backup airports mean lesser fuel that they need to carry. This is actually just for paperwork. They never intend to go there. Let's take this flight as an example. They have already chosen Lucknow as their primary alternate, and they need to choose a second one now. They could have picked Kolkata, which is a Vistara supported airport, but Kolkata is much further away, which would force them to carry significantly more fuel, thus driving up costs. So instead, they simply write down Jaipur, a closer airport with no Vistara support, as their alternate, with no intentions of going there either. But over time, this practice of choosing airports that they don't intend to go to created a psychological trap. Pilots began to see acceptable alternates as mere paperwork, not as real options to land at in an emergency. When the ATC offered Jaipur, the crew's immediate reaction wasn't, "Is it safe?" or "Is the weather good?" Their first thought was, "But that's not a Vistara airport." Commercial realities override safety instincts. Years of training to minimize costs and stick to company airports becomes more powerful than the basic pilot instinct to land at the nearest safe field. And so, with 1,500 kilograms of fuel and Jaipur sitting in clear skies just 20 minutes away, they turn towards Lucknow. 161 lives hang in the balance because of a fuel calculation designed to save money. As they cross Agra, the fuel drops to 1,500 kilos. What should have been a straight 30-minute flight to Lucknow has become a fuel-burning maze through severe weather. Had they chosen Jaipur when ATC offered it, they'd be safely on the ground by now. Instead, they are flying deeper into the storm, towards an airport they may not be able to reach. It's now 50 minutes since they departed Delhi. 1,500 kilograms of fuel remaining. Ahead, Lucknow Airport sits beneath towering thunderheads. The weather that was supposed to be better than Delhi has just become as violent. The fuel anxiety in the cockpit is intense. As they establish contact with Lucknow approach, there is hope.
Lucknow Vistara 944, diverted flight from Delhi, sir. Any delay expected?
No, sir. No delays expected.
But the weather tells a different story. Through the windscreen, they see torrential rain, lightning, and severe turbulence.
Any change in weather?
No, Captain. No change in weather.
The aircraft begins its descent into the storm. Every minute at low altitude burns 15% more fuel than they planned. Every course deviation costs them precious kilograms. They have 1,200 left. And then the visibility reports start coming in. 675 meters. And then it drops to 475 meters. This is below their landing minimums. With the current visibility, they cannot legally land in Lucknow either. They keep proceeding towards the runway, hoping that the visibility improves.
Vistara 944, descent to flight level 70.
Descent flight level 70, Vistara 944.
ATC sequences them in for landing at Lucknow. There are 3 aircraft ahead in the landing sequence. The crew advises ATC that they cannot accept any delays. As the plane crosses 6,000 feet, a Go Air flight ahead of them aborts its landing as they could not see the runway.
Oh, he's gone around, huh? I think we should have taken a chance in Delhi.
The regret in his voice is unmistakable. Winds at the airport are now worse than they were in Delhi. They are now on final approach towards Lucknow. No other planes ahead of them. They haven't spotted the runway yet. They keep descending towards the runway completely blind. If they don't see the runway lights before the decision altitude, they'll need to go around again. But their fuel levels are dangerously low. As the plane hits 500 feet above the ground, the runway is still completely invisible.
Discontinuing approach, sir. Vistara 944.
This is their second missed approach for the day. Another 250 kilograms burned. As they climb away from Lucknow, the captain makes a fateful decision. Instead of climbing high and conserving fuel, he decides to stay low, hoping for a quick second approach. Bad idea. The fuel burns even faster. The fuel low warning illuminates. 1,100 kilos remaining.
Vistara 944, we are minimum fuel now, sir. We need priority for landing.
But Lucknow's weather isn't improving. If anything, it's getting worse. They begin scanning for any place where they can put this plane down. Kanpur is 15 minutes away, but it has no instrument systems. And worse, there's bad weather on the way to Kanpur too. Prayagraj is further away, but it is better equipped. But neither airport is in their navigation database. Neither has approach charts on board. They'd be flying blind into unfamiliar airports in thunderstorm conditions. 650 kilos remaining, 15 minutes of fuel.
So Vistara 944, mayday fuel. We need an airport to land, sir, immediately. So we need to land somewhere immediately. Lucknow is below minima. Please give us an airport, sir.
They are desperate. They decide to try their luck and they divert to Prayagraj.
Mayday Vistara 944, we are diverting to Prayagraj, sir.
600 kilos remaining. Prayagraj is 20 minutes away. The math is not mathing. They won't make it. But unfortunately, they have no other choice. So, they begin to turn towards Prayagraj, knowing that they are flying towards the impossible. The first officer does the calculation in his head. Fuel exhaustion is in 12 minutes. The airport is still 17 minutes away. That means 5 minutes of unpowered flight. There will be a glider weighing 65 tons in the middle of a thunderstorm in complete darkness. The A320's glide ratio is roughly 17:1. From their current altitude, they might, just might, be able to glide the remaining distance. But that's in perfect conditions, not in turbulence that's throwing the aircraft around like a toy. And even if they somehow reach Prayagraj airspace, then what? They have no approach charts, no airport layout, no idea where the runway is. The airport isn't even in their navigation database, and their computers don't know it exists. They'd have to navigate using raw VOR signals in a storm with no power, trying to find a runway that they've never seen before at an airport they've never visited. All this in complete darkness. The captain's hands tighten on the controls. The first officer stares at the fuel gauge. 550 kilograms, still decreasing. This is it. This is how it ends. 161 people about to die because of a fuel calculation made 3 hours ago in an attempt to save money. The engines will flame out in 12 minutes. They'll glide through lightning and rain, desperately searching for lights that they may never see, hoping for a miracle that...
Vistara 944, Lucknow visibility is 600 meters.
Wait, that's good news. The runway visibility has improved. 600 meters, that's technically within their landing minimums, but barely. The captain's mind races. They are 37 miles from Lucknow, 58 miles from Prayagraj, and 550 kilograms fuel left on board. This gives them about 11 minutes of powered flight. But the captain has a problem.
What if it gets worse again?
The first officer watches the fuel gauge tick down. 500 kilos. Every second of hesitation burns fuel that they can't spare. 480 kilos. Then, as if the aviation gods have heard their prayers,
Vistara 944, Lucknow visibility is now 1000 meters. If you wish, you may turn back now, sir.
the weather has further improved. 1000 meters. That's actually decent visibility. This is the miracle. Their only miracle today.
Lucknow, Mayday Vistara 944. We are turning back to Lucknow, sir.
The aircraft banks sharply towards Lucknow. Every turn must be precise. They can't afford a single wasted mile. Lucknow ATC clears traffic from the sky.
Vistara 944, you are number 1. Immediate landing approved. Wind 270 at 25 knots, gusting 35.
25 knots, gusting to 35. It's still a vicious crosswind, but they'll take it. The fuel gauge shows 440 kilos. 8 minutes left. Through the windscreen, there's driving rain, lightning illuminating the towering clouds, and turbulence that's throwing them violently left and right. The plane captures the ILS and lines up for the approach. At 6,000 feet, the turbulence becomes so severe, the captain can barely keep the aircraft under control.
Seriously, very heavy rain here.
4,000 feet, 420 kilos of fuel left. The runway should be visible soon. It has to be. 3,000 feet. Still nothing but rain and darkness. 2,000 feet. The fuel warning lights are flashing red now. Then, at 1,500 feet, like a beacon through the storm, they see it. Runway lights. But they are still 8 miles out. The approach will take another 4 minutes. Do they have 4 minutes? The fuel gauge shows 400 kilos. Maybe, just maybe. 1,000 feet. The rain is so heavy, the wipers can barely keep up. 500 feet. 370 kilos remaining. The captain disconnects the autopilot. His hands grip the controls as wind gusts slam the aircraft sideways. 400 feet. Lightning flashes to their left. 300 feet. The runway is there. It's wet It's contaminated, it's puddled, but it is there. 200 feet, 330 kilos of fuel, maybe 5 minutes left. They have to land. There is no chance for a go around. 100 feet. A massive wind gust pushes them towards the runway edge. The captain fights the controls. Touchdown. 6:48 p.m. Runway 27, Lucknow. The fuel remaining is 260 kilos. In engine terms, it's about 5 minutes of flying time left. 5 minutes between 161 people and disaster. In the days that followed, both pilots were grounded by the DGCA. A standard response as investigators pieced together the flight's final moments. But after a week, they were cleared of any fault. And honestly, I won't blame the pilots either. They did what they were trained to do. They followed procedures. They trusted the forecasts. They made decisions the system conditioned them to make. So this wasn't pilot error. This was the system working exactly as it was designed to. But that was the problem. It wasn't just one thing that went wrong. It was a quiet chain of economic pressures, regulatory grey zones, optimistic forecasts, and rigid SOPs all aligning in perfect catastrophic sync. And somehow, they still made it. By the thinnest possible margin. And if you think this was close, wait till you hear what happened inside the cockpit of Germanwings Flight 9525. It started like any normal flight, but somewhere over the Alps, something changed. Watch that story next. You won't forget it.